Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, or whenever you are watching this Patreon-only content, which means thank you for being part of the Screenland Film family. For those that may not know, my name is Greg D.
I'm Genius McGee.
We host both the Nerds of Nostalgia
And the Nightmare Junkhead podcast.
and we'd like to welcome you all to what we are calling the Shudder Shoutout Double Feature, where we are going to be streaming 2 horror genre films from Shudder and then gathering afterwards to talk all about it.
Yeah.
Now, I can already tell you, Genius, someone out there is saying, guys, this sounds great, but I don't have Shudder.
That's okay. We have you covered. You get a 30-day free trial by putting in the code SHUTIN during Shudder, and 30 days of wonderfulness, because if you're going to get stuck at home, you might as well watch some horror movies for free.
And I guarantee if you're subscribing to this Patreon, you're going to love what Shudder has to offer.
If you listen to Nightmare Junkhead, you're going to love
You're probably already on Shudder.
Yeah, you're probably already on. Like, you got old news, fellas. Old news.
Well, ultimately, even better, staying on brand. Ultimately, what we're doing here with the Shudder Shoutout Double Feature is, again, we're going to be watching 2 movies from Shudder. Again, I think for the most part, we're going to try to make this a little bi-weekly.
Yep.
Bi-curious, if you will, and that's B-U-I, not B-I. No, that doesn't make any sense. But we're always going to be theming these double features. They will never be random. And I'd like to think this week's double feature, we're taking the panic away from the pandemic and we're putting it where it rightfully belongs.
Back in the Panic Fest Pantheon.
Yes, Panic Film Festival. Our 2 films, I'm not going to say they got their Kansas City Who the Wares. Yeah, I know. We're totally those guys right now.
We're styling and profiling, man.
Woo! Come ride Space Mountain or Nightmare Junkhead. But ultimately, no, we're going to be streaming 2 films that I'm not going to say they got their Kansas City debut, but I'm pretty sure they got their Kansas City debut.
I think they got their Kansas City debut
All
here. Panic Fest here at Screenland. That's why it's important that you guys are Patreons, and that's why we want to thank you guys for being Patreons, because without you guys, the Panic would not be able to keep going. So we want Panic Fest to come back once all this quarantine shit is over with.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the 2 films that we're going to be looking at
are fan-fucking-tastic.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, if you listen to our show, you know we love some international horror.
And we also talk a lot about making memories.
Oh.
And we'll talk about that later on, but it's very, very appropriate that the 2 movies that we're showing them here.
There's no mistake about the 2 films that we're going to be screening.
No.
I'd like to say we're going to start you off with a poutine appetizer, and then we're going to go straight into a main course sushi dish. The first film we're going to be streaming and talking about, oh boy,
Wolfcop!
Of course we're watching Wolfcop. If we didn't watch Wolfcop, there would definitely be something wrong with it. You want to talk about staying on brand?
Right.
We got to go with that. Now,
Wolfcop, man.
Came out in 2014, written, directed by Lowell Dean, and this is a film that ultimately, it's in the title.
It's a Wolf Cop. I mean, I wonder what this Wolf Cop movie is about. It's like it's period piece. It's a sequel to Little Women.
Nelson would have been happy with this one. There's no blatant false advertising from Naked Lunch to Wolf Cop. But also, I'd like to point out, one of the things that I love about this film are the gnarly, nasty
practical effects.
Done by Emerson Ziffel and his team. So when you're looking out, enjoying this film, look out for that. And speaking of looking out, let me give you another
place
warning, because the transformation scene in this film,
you're going to see some wolf dick.
There you go.
And we're going to talk about it later, too. So
who needs subtlety in this day and age, right?
The time for subtlety is over.
It's totally over. And then make sure you stick around, because then the second film that we're going to be screening.
Oh, one of my absolute new favorite movies.
Oh, without a doubt. We're going from werewolves to zombies, and we're going from Canada to Japan. And we're going to go with a little film called
One Cut of the Dead.
And quite honestly, I'm not going to say anything more after that.
No, but I will give you this. For One Cut of the Dead, stick around past the credits, okay? There's going to be a part where you're like, is this movie over? This movie is a lesson in patience. Not because the movie is bad,
no,
but because it pays off so much more if you keep following the story.
Yes, it is. Again, if you're like, man, I've already seen a bunch of zombie movies.
Not like this, you haven't.
Absolutely.
But first time I saw this movie, after a certain part, I was like, I thought there's still some movie. But keep going.
Absolutely, and that's all we're going to say with that. Now, the way this is going to run, just like the last one we did, is following our little thing is we've got a trailer reel for Wolfcop. It's going to then prompt you to go over to Shudder, watch Wolf Cop. Use the shut-in code if you aren't already a member. You're going to come back here. We've got a trailer reel for One Cut of the Dead. It'll then prompt you to go back to Shudder, watch One Cut of the Dead, and then come back again.
And watch to hear us talk about stuff, because it's fully immersive. We're going on a journey together.
It's as if we were hosting this here at Screenland like we used to do, like we're going to do again.
Like we will do again.
Absolutely. So line everything up here, prepare yourself, get yourself ready to panic fully.
You're going to have a good time at these movies.
I usually try not to guarantee too much on this one.
I guarantee.
But this one, quite honestly, if you don't have fun with these two films,
You're doing it wrong.
I think you are. So get ready for the Shudder Shoutout Double Feature, starting with
Wolf Cop!
There's someone out there. No one knows his name. No one knows his face.
Oh, no.
But now, the most terrifying man in the city
Officer! Officer! Oh, thank God it's you.
carries a badge.
The head was unstable and there was a deceleration injury. As in your old hanging.
You really think a cop did this? Why not?
You automatically assume that it was a police officer instead of some lunatic dressed up like a cop.
Fight squad.
He'll kill again. He enjoys killing.
He strikes without cause, without mercy.
He may be getting information from inside the department.
That means he is one of us.
You see a cop, you cross to the other side of the street.
You're not gonna get me.
Anybody who wants to shoot a cop nowadays got one hell of an excuse.
Since when is my personal life any of your business?
Since your wife was found dead in a motel room.
You gotta be wrong.
You want to see the pretty picture?
Keep your hands where I can see them. Hold on, I didn't do any of this.
When a cop turns killer, you have the right to remain silent forever. Maniac Cop.
부산으로 가는 KTX 406 열차가 곧 출발합니다.
저기요. 이상한 사람이 하나 타고 있는 것 같은데.
팀장님, 여기 11호차 응급 환자 발생했습니다.
market, common market.
I'm doing a film about my nightmares as I'm dreaming them. In order for the movie to continue, it was dependent on me having more nightmares. Well, fortunately, I did.
I'm a little frightened by what Wes may have tapped into. I frankly felt that it was over when we did the final nightmare.
In a town where movies go over schedule and directors go over budget, something far more evil is out of control.
The world of horror films suffered its own terror today as two of Hollywood's best-known special effects technicians were found dead.
Part of the theme of the movie is becoming like part of the making of the movie.
Can you come with me in my dreams?
I think that only happens in the movies.
It happens when the story dies. The evil is set free. Now that the films have ended, the genie's out of the bottle. That's what the nightmares are telling me, and that's what I'm writing.
This is still a script we're talking about, right, Wes?
We've decided to cross over out of films into our reality. The only way to stop him is to make another movie.
Oh, my God.
The bad man's getting awful close.
You're gonna have to make a choice.
What kind of choice?
Whether or not you're willing to play Nancy one last time.
Cut the effect!
Isn't there somebody who can stop him?
That person's you.
Why me?
It was you that gave Nancy her strength.
Almost there.
Where's my son?
House.
私あなたを救えなかった。
I see in your eyes where tomorrow is hiding in my heart. There's a bell ringing loud at the touch of your lips. Down the rainbow, I'm sliding. Little arrows keep falling as thick as a cloud.
眩しくて怖いのよ、日の光が。
かからないわ。故障よ。
And now for our feature presentation.
So I'm not gonna lie. If you are not teared up at the end of One Cut of the Dead, you do not deserve to utilize palm toilet paper to wipe up those tears. Quite honestly.
And if you want to buy that palm toilet paper, we're selling it for $100. All proceeds go to Screenland. We'll even autograph it and everything. You can wipe your ass with Nightmare Junkhead exclusively for Screenland Patreon pals.
My apologies to anyone that is paying for this content. We usually have a little thing to zap him with. Not working right now, but that's okay. Well, speaking of zapping, we just went through Wolfcop and One Cut of the Dead.
Oh, two crown jewels of Panic Fest past.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, as we're recording this, we are in Theater 4, which, do you remember where we saw One Cut of the Dead?
We saw in Theater 4.
Absolutely.
In my favorite seats, the black ones over there in the shinning room.
Absolutely. We always like to say you make memories at Panic Fest. And quite honestly, for the past 4 or 5 years that I've been attending, some of my all-time favorite movie memories have come from Panic Fest.
Some of the movies that I would never thought I would see from Panic Fest have become my favorites. And when you make memories at Panic Fest, you really do. Whether it's like physically or whether it's like, memories that are made that you will treasure forever or scars that are left in the theater in number one.
There's some true scar tissue. And let's go ahead and talk a little scar tissue and theater number one and film number one from our double feature.
Wolfcop!
Oh, Lord. A lovely piece of Cunexploitation.
Yes, this movie was hella Canadian. It was wonderful. And I want liquor donuts.
Oh, God.
I want a liquor donuts chain.
I can't watch this movie without needing some donuts. And I'm not a drinker, but I get thirsty watching this film.
If you had a drinking game, like every time he drank, you would be just as lit up as him. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Loup-garou, c'est jambon le bout.
There it is. My apologies to our French-Canadian listeners out there. Now, this movie...
very sorry.
Drink. This is a film that we saw, and if I remember right, it was my very first Panic Fest.
Yeah?
When I stumbled... when
you stumbled upon the movie?
Let's talk about one of those memories that were made at Panic Fest. Genius, we were in theater number one.
Yes.
Awaiting Wolfcop, correct?
A full theater. Let me set the scene. Another time, another place, right? Full theater, right? I mean, it's theater one.
Oh, wait. Since we're going back in time, should we do the...
So the theater was packed, and Wolfcop had a lot of hype because, first of all, the trailer made it so cool looking. Oh. The movie is great, but the excitement for this movie was palpable because they're like, man, Wolfcop's the shit. Like, it's everything you want in a werewolf cop movie.
And you've been bitten before by what we call hyperbole.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I was on the wolf cop train. So this was when I was a big time drinker at the time. I had a big drink and I had a big popcorn, right? And I come in and the theater's full and I'm like, yeah, and I go, Wolf Cop! As loud as I could, and everyone's like, yeah!
And you were going for a call and response, right?
I was just like, yeah! Or just like, woo! Whatever. And I'm like, yeah, Wolf Cop! And I take one step, and boom! Immediately, as soon as I said Wolf Cop, I fall up the stairs, like a reversed, like fat slinky.
It seemed like physics didn't actually hold true to you.
No, it didn't. And popcorn flew everywhere, but not a drop of drink was spilled. Like gyroscopic hand or some shit.
You had priorities then. And if I'm not wrong, didn't they call that drink back in the day?
The Genius McGee? Yeah.
My friend, you've come a long way.
I have. I've only gotten worse for wear.
I think your stumble in Wolf Cop was your first kind of approach to go, you know what? Maybe this isn't the best thing.
Some people take 12 steps. I took one big one.
Well, Wolf Cop, not only is it a Cunexploitation film, but it also falls firmly in one of our favorite subgenres, the noun cop genre, where you can take any noun you want,
add a cop to it, and it's going to be fucking rad.
Maybe.
Yeah, on paper, it's rad.
But you'll have the premise for a movie. In fact, I think a long time ago, we did a Nerds and Nostalgia episode.
We did.
Where we talked Samurai Cop, which if you haven't seen Samurai Cop...
Watch Samurai Cop. That movie is insane. It's batshit crazy. It's wonderful.
A shining example of the noun cop genre. But we were throwing it out there like, what are the weird nouns that you could throw in and make a compelling or at least an interesting... I'll say this, a noun cop movie that would play at Panic Fest.
Ooh.
Wolf Cop is a perfect example.
Ghost Cop.
Okay, Ghost...
I'd watch Ghost Cop.
Ghost Cop is a little too similar to Ghost Dad in
That's true.
No. Any kind of association with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's distance that.
No, so, X-Nay on the Ghost Cop. Definitely X-Nay on the Cosby Cop.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Dinosaur Cop?
Dinosaur Cop is good.
Actually, there was a Dinosaur Cop movie with Whoopi Goldberg.
That was
not good. Not good.
Some interesting special effects work, if I remember right.
But the movie in itself, whew.
I was thinking of something like Butt Plug Cop, because he'll get you in the end. Right? Because you need a good...
The way you just casually... You know what I was thinking? Butt Plug Cop.
Well, again, if you're thinking gnarly, nasty nouns, why not throw out something that, especially in a quarantine area, where people are going to go, ew.
Ew. And they can't escape. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know that was coming from Greg, not me this time.
Unfortunately,
see what happens when quarantine does to people? It plays with the mind.
We start taking on each other's personalities. He's going to start snorting here eventually.
Right? I'm going to start drinking milk and snorting and yeah.
We're talking Wolf Cop, not the hidden, correct?
There we go.
Well, let's steer back then.
Let's go back to the cops. Let's go back to Wolf Cop.
From top to bottom, this is a movie.
Speaking of memories made, let's talk about another memory with Wolf Cop that we made here in this little Panic Fest Emporium.
Do tell.
Do you remember one of our very first Panic Fest live shows?
Well, I should say I've tried to block that out of my memory, actually, because I really think the statute of limitations is anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So we're teetering on that 5 right now. Hannah, we're sorry.
Sorry. But the funny thing is, none of us on stage knew what was happening.
So, again,
okay, so let me set the scene. So we're setting up. This is in the very first vendor loft of Doom. For those of you familiar with the Screenline Armor, it was up in the actual loft. And had all these vendors and stuff, and we were going to put on a live show, as we do.
They were kind enough to let us do a little live show in the vendor loft. Mm-hmm. So we had a captive audience.
Yes.
A lot of people walking around.
And we were like, oh, let's show movies that we did at Panic Fest the year before. And so we had Wolf Cop on the background.
We wanted something on in the background.
Yeah, and of course, we love supporting local horror and horror filmmakers.
Of course.
And so at the time, young Hannah Smith, and she's young then, we're like, we're gonna go talk to her because she just made a really cool like Christmas horror movie at the time, and
one of her shorts. And Women in Horror Month was coming up.
Yes, so we wanted to definitely talk about it. So we're talking to her. She's 15 at the time, mind you, 15 at the time,
which automatically made us feel
real bad. So I'm like
weird.
I'm like, oh, fiddle-dee-dee, right? I'm not cussing. I'm trying to be good and shit, right? For those of you who know me trying to be good is still other people's terrible. So. So we're doing a really respectable job and answering good questions, a nice little interview. Being very and then
cordial,
all of a sudden people start laughing and we didn't know why, and we looked over, and as you just saw during the very cool transformation scene, the first one, the big close-up shot of his dick when he turns into like a big wolf cock, like. Why did I do the red rocket symbol?
It's a universal symbol, I think, so it's okay.
Red rocket, yum. So, I can just hear a million people click.
Yep. Sorry, Adam. Sorry, Brent. Sorry, Abby. Sorry, Jenny. Jacob. We're trying.
That's back to the story. So anyway, we're talking to her. Meanwhile, this big dick is turning into a wolf dick right before our very eyes. And we're like, so what's it like being a young filmmaker and like a woman in horror and like dick? And everybody's just like, ha ha ha. And there's pictures of it somewhere. I've seen them.
Well, and the funny part was we weren't trying to be funny. So we're hearing people laughing.
We had no clue. We're like, God damn, these jokes never killed like this before.
We're not reading the audience right or something.
Right?
And oh Lord, I expected Chris Hansen to walk out in the vendor loft.
Like you guys already have a seat, so
So you from Nightmare Junkhead 69?
Yeah.
It was really awkward.
Can you explain these bubblegum daiquiris?
Ew. Gross. You know what? A bubblegum daiquiri, Wolf Cop would probably drink that.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that's, I'm not going to say funny in this film, but it is alcohol fueled.
His rampant alcoholism. Like the fact that everything was it's still a middle of a case in the day and he's knocking a bat and everybody's like, Sheriff, and it's like, Blue. Yeah.
Well, again, from top to bottom, I think the cast works well. But for me, one of the standouts is Willie. As performed, and I want to make sure I get the name correct here. This is Jonathan Cherry. Now, he is not a stranger to genre films in the horror world. I was trying to place the face because even with the mustache,
he looks like Stephen Ogg.
Ooh.
He reminded me and gave me such Stephen Ogg vibes.
That works.
Stephen Ogg, Trevor from Trevor from Grand Theft Auto, and Simon from Walking Dead.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think at one point someone even mentioned I kind of have that kind of a vibe.
Well, not the vibe. You have a look. When you had remember when you did this, just the stash for Burt Reynolds?
Speaking of scar tissue.
When you had it, you were like, dude, you look like Stephen Ogg. And it's not a not compliment.
It's not, again, I've been called Darren, not Darren Star, but who was the guy that was in Bewitched? I was once told my profile.
It's Dick York?
Dick York, I think. Strangely enough,
Really?
again, another time.
Another place.
Back in high school.
Somebody said I looked like John Lovitz once when I was like shaving, and I was like, jealous.
Get out of the head there. But no, Jonathan Sherry was one of the victims of death in Final Destination 2.
Ooh!
He was the really cocky one that ultimately got, if I remember, the stare in the eyeball.
Nice.
Yes.
I did not realize that was him.
It was bothering me because as we're watching this, I'm like, wait, where do I know that guy from? And of course, we have the IMDb, we have the internet, and immediately I'm like, oh shit, there he is. Perfect. Huh. Yeah, no, it was fan-freaking-tastic. Another film that I think this could potentially pair well with.
American Werewolf in London.
Definitely American Werewolf. I was even going to go with Slither.
Yes, small town shenanigans.
Yes, where the big, like in this case, the drink and shoot, which, my God, if you want to talk about small town Canadian sensibilities.
What do you mean you don't have Dr. Pepper? It's the only Coke alike.
The only thing missing from this film is Greg Henry. I think if you add Greg Henry into any film, automatically makes it so much better.
But the cast of characters in this movie was great. First of all, the guy who played Lou Garou looked like he was already mid-transformation anyway.
We always joke that the greatest special effects creator and designer is
God.
And just that natural state. You can smell him.
Yeah, he smells like
off of the screen.
Molson and that rot gut whiskey that he was drinking and donuts. I mean, he just everything about him. Now, I've had my rough days, but I'm telling you, he looked like he was mid-transformation already.
Well, the fact that we open up with him in bed with a female that we never see again, so a dalliance of some sort.
Chekhov's booty call. No, not Chekhov's booty.
No, she does not come back, actually.
No, she doesn't come back.
But it tells you everything you need to know about the character because
drunken, surly cop.
As he drives away, he opens the door, vomits. Again, telling you everything you need to know about this character. And again, this is your protagonist, ladies and gentlemen. This is your hero of the story. So it's already setting itself up in not an anti-hero sensibility.
No, but this is a guy you shouldn't be rooting for, even though he is the cops.
Yes. Would you call this a horror comedy?
Absolutely a horror comedy. This movie was funny as shit because, one, it's a horror movie because it is so gory. Even just the transformation alone looks extremely painful. And that just not the dick. I mean, just like beyond the dick. Just the hand and like
even
his
the back.
Face and like his back.
Now, do you think this would pair well with American Werewolf because of the painful transformations that are going on?
This looked painful. This looked extremely, and it looked like he wasn't enjoying it because in later werewolf movies and some werewolf movies, like even in The Howling, they're like, "Cool, I'm a werewolf. Let's do this." You know?
Honestly, I think Richard Picardo probably came on just the set that day and was like, "Are you filming, Joe? Are you filming, Joe? Hey, I got a thing here. It's cool. It's cool.
You want to go back and diddle a gremlin again? No, okay, that's cool.
That's fine. That's right. We never fight. Yeah, that's a little weird on that." Emerson Ziffel, the head of the special effects department, and also whenever we talk about someone like the main artist for a special effects team, keep in mind there's an army of people behind them that they're all doing every little thing to make those effects pop. And my God,
what they did in this movie for being such a small budgeted movie, they made the effects look way grandiose as it is.
Oh, I'm not going to say they spent all the money on the effects, but for the most part, it shows if they did.
They went old school practical and like old Hollywood trickery, and I think it showed.
Absolutely, and if you're making a film called Wolfcop, I need two things. I need a good werewolf. Genius, do we get that?
Oh yeah, we got a great werewolf. A really great looking werewolf.
And also a bipedal werewolf as well. So again, not on all fours.
Yeah.
Anthropomorphic werewolf.
He's more of the teen wolf werewolf variety as opposed to like the lichens. Actually put them both together and you got it because he takes full advantage of it.
Styles and Willie are kind of cut in the same mold. And I'm not going to say that the Wolfmobile at the very end is the same as the Wolfmobile.
Dude, I would totally okay, I'm sorry, but first of all, Wolfcop will kick the shit out of Michael J. Fox, right? As the werewolf.
Don't do it. Don't do anything.
No.
Thank you.
No, I'm going the high. No, he will kick the shit out of Michael J. Fox, the werewolf. Same thing with the Wolfmobile. His Wolfmobile was significantly radder than Michael J. Fox's diddle van. I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with Stiles' diddle van, but if you had the two to roll around with, the Wolfcop mobile versus like, you want some candy, you know, I'm going to go with the Wolfcop mobile every time. And I would much rather have Wolfcop having my back in a fight against shapeshifters than Michael J. Fox. Because, like, all he did was play basketball. Wolfcop was my kind of werewolf. Because if I was a sentient werewolf, I wouldn't just use it to, like...
You'd look out for us, wouldn't you?
I would totally look out for you guys. I would like, oh, who's fucking with you? Oh, just start fucking them up. I wouldn't be using it to, like, play basketball and, like, do car surfing. I'd be, like, fucking people up. I'd be doing all sorts of shenanigans. And, like...
Would you be peeing on any vampires' topiary, I believe is the correct
Yes.
term?
No, I loved it when in that Wolfcop where he just pissed on the taggers.
The taggers.
Just, I'd do shenanigans like that. But I think one of the goofiest scenes... And it was played just like how they would play it in 80s. This movie did the 80s cop movie tropes.
That was the second
perfectly.
thing. We've established we've got a werewolf.
It did the werewolf tropes perfectly. It did the cop trope. Even like the 80s cop sex scene, there was even like saxophone in it. And meanwhile, this wolf is just tagging the shapeshifter. And I'm like, holy shit. I didn't know I needed to see this, and I still don't think I do. but I enjoyed watching it, even though I was like,
I love the film that's going to throw in one of those sex scenes that you're not expecting. Go back to our Into the Mouth of March Madness tournament with Basket Case 2.
But it was a total 80s sex scene. The soft light in the middle of a jail cell. The soft lighting, the sex. You want my rose, right? And like...
This is something that you could have watched on the Cinemax free weekend, and you would have been looking over your shoulder, making sure your folks weren't going to walk in because...
Instead of a werewolf, it's David Caruso banging somebody, you know? And like, I'm watching Jade Cop.
I was going to say, I'll still go to bat for Kiss of Death, my friend. Kiss of Death, Jade, anything in the Caruso catalog.
But at the same time, it was the kind of sex scene you see David Caruso
It's very cheesy. And I'm going to say this, again, with the Belial sex scene, the Wolfcop sex scene, if you think that's something, this is a film that spawned a sequel.
Yes.
Another Wolfcop.
Mm-hmm.
And they say with any good sequel, you need to up the ante, whether that's the special effects or, in this case, a sex scene. Do you remember the sex scene from Another Wolfcop?
I don't remember the sex scene from
Good,
Another
because
Wolfcop.
It's right up anyone that is into the ooey and gooey. I'm just going to say a lycanthropy licking scene.
Oh, is it the two werewolves banging?
Yes, and then there's the scene with the goo on it's very ooh. But they set the precedent in Wolfcop.
Right.
Wolf action, cop action, sex scene action, all sorts of action.
Lots of action.
Yeah, in action.
Yeah.
The gore, not only the special effects scene.
No, the gore was top-notch wonderful.
Is going Wolfcop. We've got beheadings.
Lots of beheadings.
We got one of my favorite reactions is when he rips the face off
the guy, and the guy's screaming, and he's using the guy as a thing. And then it's funny because he pops up later, and then Willie's like, I think he ripped the face off some dude.
Cool. Willie, the fact that he's like kind of initially the audience surrogate, he's introducing the Wolfsbane.
Which makes what happens, and since you've already seen the movie, which makes his betrayal much more like, man.
I've seen this movie multiple times. I inevitably forget that he is one of the satanic shapeshifters.
Same thing with the bartender.
Yes.
And on this watch, I picked up on a lot of things I did in the first couple of times.
Really?
Yeah.
So are you saying this is
they
one of those...
They set those seeds really good. If you go back and watch, like fresh in your memory, it'll change everything.
And we always talk about
cool.
movies that reward a rewatch.
Yep.
Again, the little things in the background, subtle things, some things not so subtle. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this now. We literally just watched it. But that's what I also love about this film is if you want to rewatch it.
It's got so much rewatchability.
And it's also 79 minutes.
It's quick.
Bingo.
And it's funny. This movie is funny. The fact that it ends on a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, and like, okay, so one of the greatest things, if you're going to be a wolf cop, you need to have a joke about the fuzz. And the fact that there is, who are you? The fuzz. I was like, Bravo. That's exactly what I wanted. Good job.
Good werewolf puns.
Good puns. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Good
You are
puns.
a pun provider, my
I
friend.
am.
That is
I
a
am.
fan of puns. Another thing that I really enjoyed on this one, let me go through here, the transformation scene. Oh, man, I think I've hit most of my favorite things. Now, we're going to go back again because not only did Genius kind of cement what is going to be listed on his tombstone,
Wolfcop,
vegan cheese, pepperoni, potentially, not a week or two after that, we were at the Kansas City Comic-Con. Now, we're going to get very family here in the Screenland film family. And again, this was a long time ago.
Another time, another place.
Truly. But if I remember right, we were rolling along and we stumbled across our friend Liz. Now, this is a long time ago. Liz.
Before I knew Liz as Liz.
Yes, but long before she was being betrothed to our good friend Blair as well.
Congrats.
You've seen all of them both here as well. Again, yeah, congratulations. From dolls to posters, my friend.
I know.
It's always going to get us. But we were walking around there. And now Genius, you have to, if you know Genius, and even still today, I'm not going to say you're pure id, my friend, but you are a man of passions.
I do. I'm a man of appetites.
Yes, and we're strolling along and we see our friend Liz. Again, more of an acquaintance at this time. And we stroll up and Genius.
I really didn't know her. And so.
I'm not going to say you were flirting or putting a vibe out, but
no, but
you know,
I was
naturally.
like, well, hey, how's it going? And she's like, oh, hey. I know you. And I go, oh, yeah? And like.
And immediately in your head where you're like, my reputation precedes me.
Yes, exactly.
You
It's
must
like
know me as the Minister of Sinister.
Something, yeah, because I still was doing the horror club at the time, and we were doing our podcast.
Yes.
We were at the early days.
The early days.
The early days. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe that Facebook is a thing. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, hey. She goes, I know you. And I'm like, yeah. And then she goes, Wolfcop! And I was like, oh, shit. And I just kind of hung my head down and kind of like, I'm going to the other booth over there.
You totally did the Christmas time. And again, from afar,
The Charlie Brown walk.
trying not to laugh. Because I'm like, wow, this is happening. Like, good for him. Look at it. Maybe I was actually thinking about taking notes. Like, this is how you flirt with people. This, okay, that's good. That's good. But then when that came,
Never take notes about like relationship and flirting from me. That's the wrong thing to do. You know, that's like that's like how to be subtle with a sledgehammer.
right, yeah, don't get involved in a land war in Asia.
Exactly.
Throw that in. Don't take relationship advice from Genius McGee. Listen to the films he enjoys. Don't do the column thing. I'm just telling you, you are not going to be our.
I'm not savage love. This is I
You're
will,
savage,
but not lovey.
but not
So-
no, very not lovey.
Ah.
Check out Another Wolf Cop if you have not seen that. I had a chance. I hosted a double feature at Tapcade a few years ago, and Another Wolf Cop is also about 80 minutes, and it's even probably more Canadian.
It is. The only thing my beef with Another Wolf Cop, it ends so abruptly.
Oh, it is a very abrupt ending.
I thought there was like still 10 more minutes of movie.
It seems like it's an incomplete film for the most part.
Yeah.
But it also features like Canadian ambassador Kevin Smith, which that threw me off completely.
Out of nowhere.
He loves himself some Canada. Believe me, he is one of those loves himself.
But good things come out of Canada. I mean, like fantastic movies come out of Canada. Wonderful people come out of Canada.
Ideally, part of the pre-show that preceded this, we did a little thing on Canuxploitation films, and I mean, quite honestly, some of my favorite horror films, some of my favorite genre films, come from our neighbors up north.
Another werewolf movie from up north, Ginger Snaps.
We just talked about it on Into the Mouth of March Madness, which was another one that I cannot believe lost in the first freaking round. Sorry, I'm still having issues.
Yeah, we have issues.
I really wanted
we
to
put the thing together and we're still pissed off about it, but that's okay. It's okay. I still think Gremlins 2 deserved to win, but
Hey,
that's
you know
me.
what? And our hats off to Friday the 13th. You know what? Win
it for me. Yeah.
But another thing that comes from our neighbors at the north is a great little podcast called From My Parents' Basement Podcast.
They're fun.
featuring Ghoulish Gary Pullen, one of Aaron Lupton, all those cats. They are wonderful. Final thoughts on Wolf Cop before we transition to an experience.
Oh man, go see Wolf Cop. Don't expect a serious movie. Go in wanting to have fun.
Yes.
If you're going in like, man, this movie better be scary or better be extra gory, you're not gonna have it. It's a horror comedy because it's a werewolf that just goes around fucking killing people, drunkenly, I might add.
Oh.
And it makes so much better. This movie, if you don't have fun with this movie, but you just saw it, so you know what we're talking about.
I'm hoping you enjoyed it. And if you didn't,
let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us why you didn't, but show your work.
Always showing the work. But if you didn't enjoy that one, I'd like to think then that our second film is a good chaser, if you will. Maybe even a palate cleanser, potentially. Because you know what? I sent an email, genius. Did you not get the email?
I sent an email. I can't get it. I am calm. Dead calm.
Hyperbole.
From action to action!
Oh, my God. Let's just get into it. I had heard about One Cut of the Dead from a lot of the other film festivals that had started playing. And the biggest thing that I heard, like we said,
the less you know, the better, and keep going.
Yes, and I want to find out. Any first-time viewers out there, hit us up. We're on Twitter at Nightmare Junk, Facebook Nightmare Junkhead. Hit us up in the chat right now. If this was your first time, tell us how you responded, because I'll be honest, I've seen this movie multiple times now.
Yeah.
And we always talk about the transformative power of cinema, but also we do this thing called peripheral viewing, where it's not so much the movie that we're viewing, but it's watching people's reactions to the movie that we're viewing. And quite honestly, this is one of my favorite films to do peripheral. Oh, yeah, absolutely, without a doubt, without a doubt. Oh, because...
I think one of mine is Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, God, yeah.
I love watching people's reactions to Sleepaway
Hey, genius,
Camp.
eat shit and die.
Hey, eat shit and live.
There we go. Hype. So much hype behind this.
Oh, yeah, everybody's like, this is an amazing movie, you're going to love it.
But the biggest thing, again, was wait.
Mm-hmm.
Wait beyond the first credits that you see. It's a movie of thirds, ultimately, as we come to see. But like I said, the first time I saw this was at the Panic Film Festival, was in this very theater.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to talk about nostalgia hitting with waves right now. My goodness, just talking about the film.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, of course.
I remember coming out and we're like, well, what'd you think? Palm! Like,
palm. It is
too much palm.
Too much palm. No, ultimately, let's talk a little bit about One Cut of the Dead.
Here, put that toilet paper on there, and
there we go. That'll be the base.
The palm. There we go.
There we go.
Palm base.
Zombie films.
Yes.
A lot of people ultimately...
A lot of people hate them. A lot of people think there's too many and there's too saturated. I am not of that opinion. I love zombie movies.
So you will seek out a zombie film even if it doesn't have the hype.
Especially zombie movies coming out now because they know people are burned out. They know people want to see something new. So wow, what to do something new? There's been a lot of great new zombie movies that came out.
Yeah.
Blood Quantum is fantastic. The Girl with All the Gifts is a wonderful one. Train to Busan, that's another good peripheral
Now,
viewing.
interestingly enough, I think all
of these movies have played at Panic Fest. I'm telling you, I said it before and I said it again. When a Panic Fest is going to show a zombie movie, I am 100% down for that zombie movie because I know nothing but good track record from this.
I don't think I've ever been steered wrong with a zombie film at Panic Fest.
Nope.
And now I'll say this. I'm going to set the stage ultimately for our screening. Our friend Adrian from the Horrorversary podcast, a podcast called Horrorversary. I'm not going to throw the "the" in there. But he introduced it to us.
It comes at night.
That's something hereditary or something like that. Ultimately, he had seen it earlier at one of the festivals, so he had some context going in. And he set the stage, which is perfect, because this is a film, ultimately, I think, you do need some context, but not a lot.
No.
Because like you said...
The little you know about it, the better.
And the first third of this film is a one-cut zombie film.
Which is impressive in itself. Which, if you took that alone...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's still like, holy shit.
It's a huge feat.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, when I was watching it the first time, I was enjoying the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Every moment he came on screen and just... Action!
I giggled so much.
I laughed harder and harder every time because in my mind, I'm like, okay, he's a crazed director. He's going to do everything he can to make this film work, even if putting his cast and crew in danger.
Right.
Cool.
But even before that, like I remember my first time seeing this movie, during the first part, there was parts when they were being very awkward and very slow, and I was like, this could be edited and this could have been moved, and like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a little bit more I'm enjoying myself,
sure,
but like, why would they leave that awkward pause in there and way? And so then finally
no in that first third there are awkward moments.
Mm-hmm.
There are parts where you're like, okay, maybe they couldn't cut because of the fact they're doing a one cut. Understood, no problem. And then Palm happens. We get
the first instance of Palm.
Palm is wonderful, and Palm comes from one of those moments where it's revealed later, but Palm becomes something that, quite honestly, again, Palm is the official toilet paper of Screenland Armor and Panic Film Festival, and if you're doing it correctly, it's Palm. You got to put your arms out.
And you got to say Palm or else it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's all about self-defense. That's the moment I think I fell in love with the film, with the charm for the most part, because I think ultimately this film is very charming. The gore itself in the first third of the film,
It's basic
fine.
funny gore. It's
fine.
silly gore.
But like you said, the ending shows a great reveal of a pentagram. So our second film featuring a little satanic issues.
There we go.
Satanic shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
And then the credits hit. And you're sitting there and you're walking. And again, yeah.
I literally looked at my watch and I was like,
even knowing we were told
to wait, and I'm like, that seems very short. And then the credits went, and then like, okay.
And then you get the second third of the film, and you realize then,
oh, there's more.
Yeah, and it takes us back. Again, we're gonna. We find out that we're all building around how the film came together, the preparation that went into.
But then there's another set of credits where I was like, okay, this movie's over. That was kind of cool, but that movie's over again. And like, wait, who is that person? And why are they showing this person? And why are they showing that person? I don't remember seeing them in any of the movie. Again, a lesson in patience. Just wait, because that everything is it's a lovely package.
Oh.
And you just have to just unfold the layers and wait till you get to the bottom, the core of it.
Not a Russian nesting doll, but a Japanese nesting doll potentially. It's like an inception, because the second third, again, is the preparation, the putting together of the film.
It becomes a family drama.
Yes.
It becomes
this movie,
such a hard-pressing family drama. Where the first time we're introduced to the young daughter, she's yelling and berating a small child for like, I needed real tears.
Ultimately,
and she calls that mom an old hag, and she's got to be like, what, 25? Like, what do you mean old hag? Oh, it was great.
It shows how much people are willing to bleed for a film. Ultimately, what it goes into making a film, all the chaos surrounding it, and no matter how much, as we do in the second third of the film, prepping and planning, things are going to happen.
Yep, you might just get the wrong water.
You might get. Did you not get the email?
I sent the email.
He sent the email, genius.
The
first third of the film, the first time I watched it, him in the background when all the chaos is going on.
And he's just sitting with doing nothing. I'm like, what the fuck's his deal?
I was laughing because I was like, okay, there's something else going on with this movie. There is some other layer that is happening that we are not privy to.
Yeah.
The characters that come into play, you get the prima donna actor that doesn't want to do a genre film. Ultimately, it's below him.
You get the actress that's just like, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that, and I want to get blood and I don't want to get on. And don't yell. And then
you get the other actor that that poor guy.
The alcoholic. The fact that he lost his daughter. It's not played for laughs, but at the same time, you're like, this is a beat that should be somber, but why am I smiling yet crying on the inside?
He's a great actor. I mean, he puts forth the pathos.
And then when he's like becomes a zombie, rah, 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 rah.
Every time he would come out,
just overacting
harder and harder.
So funny.
And then you finally get to the last third of the film, and to me, this is when everything comes together.
This is the coup de grace. This is the fuck of the film.
This is when the peripheral viewing comes into play. I watched this over at Tapcade with a big old audience, and this is nothing we hosted. No one came out beforehand. It was just through the viewing, just the general screening. And I was watching a group of people through the peripheral, and the first third of the film, I could tell automatically they weren't digging it. It was just, I could tell they were just like, oh, this is cheap. This is low budget. What am I watching? Where's all the hype coming from? Second third of the film hits, I can tell they're not enjoying it even more. They're like, oh, are you kidding? Why are we going backwards? But that final third of the film, when, you know what, you're presented right now with 4 little lines, the screen, the frame. There's a story going on in that frame, and that's the story we're being told. But there is so much going on outside.
So much more.
The chaos, the crew coming together. Again, why we love our film family, whether we are talking about it or whether you're filming it, but the chaos that goes on outside of it. The fact that there's so many times where like, we need to cut this. We need to just put up the little...
just put the technical difficulties thing.
It doesn't happen.
No, this is not only a exercise in patience, but this is a prime example of the show must go on.
And let me tell you something, Genius McGee, your work ethic is slowly but surely going to wear on me, because full disclosure, there have been a few times that I've had to bow out on stuff through my depression, anxiety, this or that. Genius is always the one that carries on because he is a pro. He is a true professional.
I've come from an entertaining family, and like the one thing, and it was a spoiler, a surprise. I was a theater kid in high school.
Imagine
and,
that.
I know, right? But ever since I was little, it's been instilled. The show must go on, no matter what. I mean, there's been times where like I've hosted things and I'm like, I'm half dead, you know. Not now, not recently, FYI, right? No, I'm not. I cough because of the chronic, not the corona. So like, so.
Christ almighty.
So it's just like, yeah, it's a very show must go on thing, and that's what I loved about this movie too, because like there was so many people like, no, let's just put the thing of like, no, we can do this. Wow,
The fact
we'll figure it out
that they lose their two,
fucking we'll do it live.
They're gonna lose their two lead actors. So who do they throw in? They throw in the director and his wife, and Nan as played and performed. And I've got my notes here because I want to.
She was wonderful.
She is ridiculous in this film.
She was captivating. Like
Harumi Shamuma. Every
single scene she was in, just like,
oh,
I am calm. Just a switch, dead calm.
The reveal of why she stopped acting, because she got so method that she ended up breaking like one of her co-stars' arms.
She almost did in the movie. She's like, let go. And then, but the other thing, like, yeah, the one thing you probably might not notice your first time seeing, but the second time seeing him during the actual movie, you hear bum, 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 bum.
The fact that she is the one that is driving the chaos, she's the one that is making everyone run, because she is bound and determined to kill every zombie out there.
Between that and diarrhea and like people losing their shit, and like the cameraman getting it back out of me.
The cameraman eating shit, that was a great fall. And one, I'm sure it was written in, obviously, because you get that beat, but man, that is sacrificing your body for your film.
There was 2 scenes in this movie that like just gave me the biggest giggles. One is when, speaking of the guy taking a shit, when he's taking a shit and they have to do the makeup and he's crying because he's so embarrassed. He's like, and he's crying. And then the second time when the drunk actor really vomits on the second AD with the arm, and he's like, "What is this on me?" And he just gets his iPhone, like, "Get this off me now!" And he did nothing to do because he's in the zombie makeup. He's like, action.
And then every time you realize that the director is just out of frame, really dictating and manipulating everything so it goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
It is unreal. And that's when I was the peripheral viewing, when all those dots start connecting, when they start making everything, everyone in that crowd, you could see the smiles start forming, and they go, oh, yeah, that makes sense now.
Because the first thing we see is the director yelling and berating the actor and actress, like, everything you do is a lie and you fake, you can't even cry with tears, and he's pissed off and like, you've been sabotaging me from day one and then you think like it's part of the action in the movie because it's a crazy director, but then you're like, oh, he's not.
And then you get everyone, they're off on
where the fuck
off
is he?
It is so ridiculously good. And then the fact that it ultimately culminates with his daughter taking over control of Video Village, I believe they call that. And I love the fact that she's wearing all the director shirts, the Scorsese.
Yeah.
She's got like the car. She's a fan girl.
She loves cinema.
Yes. Which ultimately it's kind of sad then that the fact that her father is in films, even though he's doing maybe commercial work or this or that, and it doesn't put him, because she's pushing him. And the fact that it's that one actor that sparks her interest, and I think ultimately really drives him to the project, because we talk about connections, all he's looking is for a connection.
To connect with the daughter, because like they grew up loving movies and making movies together, and then they kind of like what teenagers and parents do, they separate. See, he's welling up right now, getting the palm out.
Oh my God, that shot,
final shot at the end,
when you got the shot of him on her shoulders, and then ultimately everyone literally on each other's backs to make the crane shot work when it shatters and falls apart. Oh my God. Oh my God. And if he goes from a younger father and then he's a little bit older with a beard, it kills me.
You see just the two looking at each other. You see the girl's face at the pride. And then like his like pride, yet there's tears in his eye. And I'm just like,
damn you, Panic Fest and your zombie movies.
Making me cry. God damn it.
It is freaking ridiculous.
But then like, yeah.
And he gets the job because he is cheap, fast,
and average.
Which I'd like to think is the ethos of this podcast, actually. I'm not going to lie.
And actually, for those of you who like that ending credit sounded a lot like that Michael Jackson song, or the Jackson 5 song, it was.
Oh, really?
It was like the karaoke switcheroo version of it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
But what I love even more, though, is kind of the progression of the film. it expands the universe to the point where you go from the screen, outside of the screen, and even beyond that.
Well, it turns into a zombie movie, then it turns into a family drama, and then it turns into a screwball comedy.
Yes.
And like it's going up and down and up and down, but you're in for this ride this whole time, and it's so wonderful, the payoff.
And the fact that it was made for super cheap and made so much money in Japan, it kept playing constantly because people kept coming to it because it's the charm of this film.
From what I remember, it started in it played in 2 theaters in Japan, right? Only 2. And then, but in those 2 theaters, that was the only thing they played for 2 years.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, if you bring your friend, you get 50% off. Or if you come dressed up as a zombie, you get buy one, get one free ticket. And so people, by word of mouth alone, they filled up this theater with one movie for 2 years. So that's crazy.
And any film, not any movie can do that.
No.
Quite honestly. It takes something that is going to have legs. I guarantee you, if we're doing Into the Mouth of March Madness in 2027.
Oh, it's got to be on there.
Of course it is. Of course it is. In 2024 for Wolfcop in 2004. I mean, we've got these films that I think do have legs.
Mhm.
There are films that have already started that little bit of their legacy.
Yeah.
Ultimately. I've heard, and I hope we don't, but I've heard they're wanting to remake this.
I hope not. I heard they're gonna remake Train to Busan, which I think is a travesty in itself.
It's not right.
No.
Listen, if
Let Me In taught us anything,
we don't need.
you don't need to make a remake.
Give it some time to breathe.
Exactly.
Then we can establish because
Let Train to Busan be Train to Busan. The peninsula looks fucking dope.
it does actually. The trailer dropped today. If Parasite taught us anything, it's let's take the time to enjoy films and do a little reading.
Yeah.
We like to promote literacy here on the show,
Mhm.
obviously. Final thoughts on One Cut of the Dead before we start talking about some of our favorite Panic Fest memories.
I absolutely love this movie, One Cut of the Dead. I think more people need to see it, especially if you, not necessarily if you're a fan of horror, but if you're a fan of filmmaking.
Yes,
If-
this is the ultimate love letter
Yeah.
to film families.
Mhm.
This is one of those movies that is all about the trials and tribulations of putting together a movie. Making anything at this point is a miracle. Jill Gavargazian, the initial cut of the stylist was put together by John Pata. Apparently, it's looking. We both were able to see behind the scene of everything that went on there. Todd Sheets, you've been behind the scenes of his films. We've seen what it takes to make a movie.
The literal blood, sweat, and tears in a lot of these things. And for a movie to showcase that, I think, and especially done in a fun way, is super
And
important.
I love the fact that you see all the people behind the scenes, every member of the crew, every member of the film family. If it's not for them, if one part is missing, it's not going to work.
Because like you said, we see what's going on in this box right here. Okay, but sometimes the story that's beyond the boxes is even better than what's in the box.
Absolutely. So hopefully maybe this will inspire some of you to start to go into the filmmaking process. Hopefully this will inspire some of you to appreciate what is put out there and the work that goes on and the fact that there is so much material out there. You know, what I love with Panic Fest is the fact that we see a lot of these films that sometimes you won't see for quite a few months. In some cases, you never just see at all.
Yep.
And the fact that we have that chance to see that, it is very special. Panic Fest was just isn't it strange that Panic Fest was really only about 2 months ago?
That's insane. It
seems
seems like it seems like 20 years ago, man.
Doesn't it?
Another time.
Another place.
Yeah.
Truly. But ultimately, what we love here with what Screenland is doing is giving back. That's what they do with Panic Fest. That's ultimately what we do with our film family. And again, ultimately, thank you, every single one of you.
It's a chance to people to show their movies. You know, sometimes people never get a chance to see their movie ever again.
Especially on a big screen.
Yeah, and they put a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort. And that's one thing I think doing what we do, the fact that we got to talk to some of these filmmakers and how important movies are to them and to us, that it's places like this, things like Panic Fest, movies like One Cut of the Dead are more important now than ever.
Yeah. We always say before we start a film that cinema is sacred at Screenland, and it truly is. For a lot of us, this is our church. This is where we go to worship. We're missing that at this point for the most part. So I know we're all looking forward to getting back in the theater, but let's again stay safe and smart with all of that. So that being said, some other films that have played at Panic Fest, and I'd like to say also really quickly that on the main feed of Nightmare Junkhead through the entirety of April, all of our episodes
our Panic Fest from this year's Panic Fest.
Come from this year's Panic Fest.
The Game of Games.
Last week's hardware conversation with Joe Lynch.
Our conversation with Patty Murphy and Uncle Peckerhead and Papa Killer and all. Vice Guide to Big. All those guys. Panic Fest was amazing this year, and I cannot wait for next year.
Oh, next year, I promise.
Next year's going to be nuts.
Wonderful. So that being said, what we talk about making memories at Panic Fest. Obviously, Wolfcop was a memory. Obviously, One Cut of the Dead was a memory. I'll be honest. We talked about it before. Train to Busan.
That's one of my favorite memories at Panic Fest, seeing everybody cry in that theater.
Now, I will say where you see the movie can make a difference because here in theaters 3 and 4, a little bit smaller, more intimate. 2 is a little bit more broad, but theater 1.
The big one.
That's where you want to see
That's where you
the
want to
grand
see
films.
the movies.
And Train to Busan, my goodness. Part of that film, I didn't watch because I pretty much had my head in my lap because I was trying not to sob and like disturb everyone around me.
Oh, my heart was racing because the movie was tense. The
Set
movie is
pieces
so
are incredible.
tense, so tense. I mean, first of all, fast zombies, fuck them. My fat ass is toast if it's fast zombies, okay? So I'm already like, holy shit, then they're just coming out of everywhere, all over nook and cranny, ready to bite people. Then you throw in, like, hello, oh my God. Tears. I was like, oh. I still cannot watch this movie to this day without welling up and like sniff.
I took solace in the fact that I heard other people sobbing throughout because there was that stretch when she's going through the tunnel.
Oh,
you could have heard a pin drop
when the dad is about to jump off the train. Spoilers if you haven't seen Train to Busan. That's
fair.
But go see it. But
yeah.
prepare to cry. And if you don't cry, you're kind of a monster.
Yeah, you do not deserve the palm toilet paper.
I mean, at least like if you don't openly cry, cool. But at least if you don't well up or feel bad, yeah. If you're not affected, there's something wrong.
The worst part about it was after when we were walking out of the theater, I see a bunch of people, friends, and I'm trying to be cool and say, hey, what's up? And I can't even talk about seeing, I just saw Train to Busan because I started choking up again. I had to walk away from people. It was, I had to have a 15-minute refractory period after Train to Busan because I was so spent.
I was like an old Southern lady, like, hey, got to dry my eyeballs misty, and like just talking about like, hey, that little girl, she was singing that song and making me cry. You know,
it was intense. It was intense.
But it was, I had almost a Get Out reaction. Because in the end of Get Out, there's a scene, same thing like here, where I was thinking, if what happens, I think is going to happen, I'm ready to riot and anarchy and tear this fucker to the ground. Like, I was like, don't you do it. Don't you do it, movie. It happened in Get Out, and it didn't do it. And it happened in Train to Busan, and it didn't do it.
Thankfully, it did. Yeah, no. Had we thought happened what happened, that entire theater would have probably like turned against everything, and there would have been a panic at Panic Film Fest.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite memories, I was viewing a movie solo. In fact, our last stream, I couldn't remember the name of the friggin' movie, Beyond the Gates. I was watching Beyond the Gates, the Graham Skipper flick, and behind me, about halfway through the film, some poor sap started vomiting. And just, I think maybe he had it was a Sunday before they expanded Panic Fest. I had a feeling he was having a good time throughout the weekend.
A little too much fun.
But let me just say, it added to the experience of that particular screening because there are moments in that movie where Barbara Crampton's character, the little video dungeon master guide, she's just staring at you through this video screen and she just does this like little thing. And that with the vomit, I was like, wow, this has been a great little viewing experience. And I was totally by myself. It was just but it was just one of those random things that happened. I was like, that's kind of cool. Again, it was cleaned up afterwards, of course, and maybe he didn't. Maybe he was drinking some of the tap water,
maybe
the bottled water.
There we go.
They didn't get the email potentially. Another memory from Panic Fest Genius?
Poughkeepsie tapes. So
okay, tell the tale.
If you've never seen Poughkeepsie tapes, this movie is fucked up. Basically, it's fake, but it's set as a true crime found footage about this hunt for a serial killer. And there's all this horrific, depraved shit. Now, this is back when Panic Fest still had the midnight movies that started at midnight.
Midnight movies.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this was, it was about 1:30 in the morning by the time this happened. And it was been a full Saturday.
And typically a midnight movie is not one that is probably going to get a lot of laughs. For the most part, that's usually more the hardcore material.
It was hardcore.
Oh, boy.
There was this scene in Poughkeepsie tapes, like, I don't know what it was. I think it was just a girl popping a balloon or something after this horrendous, horrific shit just happened, and it just hit my giggle center, and like the theater was half empty, big, echoey, cavernous theater, and you just hear and I couldn't help myself, and the worst it got, I was like
Now, in the moment, did you feel yourself laughing like, I know I shouldn't be laughing, and then maybe try
it
to
was
stop it,
it was terrible. People thought I was a monster.
You were only missing like a stogie, and you would have been straight De Niro from Cape Fear, my
There's
friend.
horrible shit going on right there. I wasn't laughing at the horrible shit, but just something sparked. It just got weird. I was slap happy at that time. It was ridiculous. So many good movies I seen at Panic Fest. So many memories were made. This year, meeting all the new people.
Yeah, that's the other thing. With the extension and expansion of the theaters, then they also expanded and extended the time for Panic Fest. And there was so, like, it would make you panic trying to figure out what film you're going to see. You'd start divvying out assignments. Okay, genius, you go see that. I'm going to go see this one so we can have some content for the podcast. But them extending it out so you don't have to panic so much was wonderful. But back in those days when we were still kind of cramming for everything, one of the films that I just truly enjoyed, and it's one of those ultimately that, again, I look upon fondly just in terms of the memories, but watching Mayhem and Victor Crowley with a crowd a few years ago. Now, we were lucky enough that they were able to bring in, because the other thing that's great with Panic Fest is you talk about meeting people, is the fact that, again, a lot of the filmmakers with the movies that come in, they fly in, they come and participate. So we had the chance to meet Joe Lynch and Adam Green. Now, for me, that is a huge thing because I am a huge fan of the Movie Crypt podcast.
And I love their movies.
Yes, something for everyone. And we were fortunate enough where we were able to conduct the Q&A sessions after each of those films. And quite honestly, that was such a moment for me because I'm sitting there in the moment. And it's really funny. If you look at any of the pictures of us doing that, it's actually as if we were doing social distancing then because I wanted to make sure to give them the spotlight. I didn't want it to be one of those things like, so Mr. Lynch, I didn't want that. I wanted it to, because the spotlight was on them. And I was watching from a fan's view. I'm like, holy shit, there's Joe Lynch talking about Mayhem. And the fact that I got a chance to talk about the Brass Knuckles and the 3 O'Clock High connection that was there. I didn't realize, and Katie, our friend, the Blot in Front, pointed this out. Apparently, I told Adam Green to F off in our Q&A because of the fact, spoiler alert, in Victor Crowley, there is a death that is just so painful and mean-spirited and not what you expect in the Victor Crowley movie. You're not expecting feels. It's the Tiffany.
Oh, yeah, that's a rough death.
Apparently, I was like, F you, Adam. And I said it jokingly, but I was like, oh, God, did I say that? Because a lot of the stuff in the moment I'm not aware of, and listening back.
Fuck you, Adam Green! Fuck you, and you're making me feel things.
I was like, Adam, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. But I was like, holy shit, I guess that's a memory made.
Hey, directors go for reactions.
Truly a reaction. And again, something that you get in the theater. With Mayhem, the fact that multiple people were able to pinpoint Wicket up on the big screen. Love it. Again, little things like that. The fact that just, again, go back to last week's Nightmare Junkhead episode where we had our conversation. We went from doing a Q&A with Joe Lynch to doing a live podcast with Joe Lynch.
That was exciting.
That was
so exciting
item for me. I could not believe it was happening.
No, me neither.
I was sitting there, I'm like, shit, this is Joe Lynch, one of our favorite filmmakers, someone that has provided me memories, that has provided so many people memories, and I'm hoping, ideally, that maybe we made a memory for someone else out there that day beyond ours.
Like, man, these fuckers ruining their conversation with Joe Lynch.
Yeah. Well, I was making sure that was giving him the spotlight because, you want to make sure he does the work. Another thing that I really enjoyed, and it was definitely a moment, was when we were able to host the Low Life Q&A.
I fucking love that movie. That was one of my memories. Low Life was so good.
A perfect film that you would see at Panic, because like we said, you see all sorts of different genre films at Panic Fest. But if you were to put together a top 5 movies that make Panic Fest, I think you throw Low Life in there.
Oh, absolutely. It's genre lovers movie.
Oh, it's so many things. But the fact that we were able to do the Q&A with our luchador masks on, which was so much fun. And little things that maybe meant nothing to anyone else. To none of the Panic Fest parishioners that were out there. But for me, and again, maybe it's selfish, but I had a good time. And I'll be honest, the way we approach things, little behind the mask is ultimately we want to try to enhance what's going on in the theater, to put the spotlight on the filmmakers, to enhance the experience. So I honestly, even doing something like this, I don't want really the spotlight on us. Again, we're talking about the filmmakers. Genius. Yeah, he's the song and dance man. Ultimately, but again, those were memories made. Memories that fuel me, that keep me going through this hard time.
That make me excited for Panic Fest, because
next year's Panic Fest.
Peek behind the curtain, we bust our asses, but everybody busts their ass
Abby,
so
Jacob,
much during this.
Jenny, all the volunteers that made Panic Fest what it was.
But they do it because it's fun.
Because we love it. Much like One Cut of the Dead. Everything you don't see to make Panic Fest work.
Right.
There's all sorts of palms going on, actions.
Shenanigans, chaos, hard water. Yeah. Yes. All sorts of stuff.
And again, but what I love, though, the fact that it is a smaller fest still, and I hope we retain that because there is an intimacy involved at Panic Fest.
Friends. It's truly a place where film friends can get together because you meet your old friends, you make new friends, you have time with the friends that you're running buddies already with, and you get your circle a little bit bigger. It's something I think we take for granted, especially nowadays when we can't really get together anymore.
It's tough.
That when something like Panic Fest is something that's truly special and something that we truly need to celebrate. And that's why we're doing what we're doing today.
Absolutely.
And that's why we want to thank you guys for joining us for doing what we're doing, to keep the panic alive, to keep things going, to keep the shenanigans and the friendships and the memories made.
Yes.
Because no matter whatever memories you have, you can still make more.
Yes, we can. And it's what's fueling me, getting me through all of this, to know that we, all of us, are going to make more memories next year. Pom! Now, to finish things off,
we're going to get classy.
Listen. Go ahead and click away now, because we know this bit wasn't funny 20 years ago. We know it's not funny now, but damn it, tradition is tradition. So now we have FMK, Fornicate, Marry, Kill, the Panic Fest edition. And on the slab today, we were talking about this beforehand, we have 3 films of which
premiered at Panic Fest.
Yes, all played at Panic Fest. We've got last year's Richard Stanley classic, Color Out of Space. We have the aforementioned Ryan Prowse, Low Life. And we have the Taika Waititi, What We Do in the Shadows. Oh, Lord.
Besgetti.
If you're another memory made theater one, thank you. Do you want to start, Genius, or shall I go?
Go for it.
Okay. For me, this is kind of a no-brainer for the most part. I'm definitely going to marry What We Do in the Shadows, because if anything, that film talk about family, even if it's 3 misplaced vampires living together, they're all about family. They're making things work together. Is it Diago? No, not Diago.
Taika Waititi.
Thank you. His character, it ends with a romance, a marriage. It's a sweet film. It's a film that ultimately I know, regardless, I'm going to have wonderful coffee in the morning with all of them. We might argue about who does the dishes. That's okay. I know Peter's going to show up eventually. I'm going to cohabitate in my married life with What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
And whether it's a polyamorous relationship where I'm with every single vampire, or whether it's just a monogamous relationship, regardless, I think I'm going to be in a very good scenario and be comfortable. Because again, and also I've said it before, one of the things I am going to always look for in a spouse is someone that can make me laugh. And quite honestly, if you're not laughing with What We Do in the Shadows, you're doing it wrong. So
Exactly.
I'm definitely going to marry What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to go ahead. Now, this is tough in terms of who to get freaky with, because both sides have their merit, quite honestly. I'm going to go ahead and get freaky with Low Life.
Okay.
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 Only because I like a little bit of diversity here, and I know where your head usually is. But if we look at all the characters in Low Life, this is a film that spawns a lot of tales, because it's ultimately almost like an anthology film.
It
for the most
really
part.
is.
But you're going to get freaky with some of the lowest life people on the planet.
Yeah.
Whether it is someone with a...
Soy el monstruo.
And quite honestly, it would be worth it to get down with El Monstero. You know what? The legacy...
El legado es todo.
The sex life is total, okay? I'm leaving. I'm throwing on my luchador mask. We're going from the top rope. We're utilizing the entirety of the ring.
You're going to be touched from parts unknown.
My La Quinceañera is going to be epic. Okay, I promise you. When I become a man or a woman, It's going to be wonderful. And even, you know what? Oh my God, the main killer.
Teddy Bear.
Teddy Bear. You can only imagine what goes beyond, what happens behind closed doors, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Let your imagination run wild. And is that very imagination that I'm not letting run wild and why I'm killing Color Out of Space. Because as we said, every kiss begins with...
Ew.
And I just can't... There are scenes in that movie that still make me squirm.
gnarly, gross shit.
Ridiculous. Which is why I'm going to say, Genius, what are you doing with your FMK?
Okay, so first off, I'm going to kill Lowlife. Okay?
Fair.
As much as I love this movie, it's, like you said, it's filled with some depraved ass people.
I'm going to have to get checked after my little romp with them.
Right? Because, I mean, Teddy Bear's like a fucking monster.
He's a lunatic.
El Monstro is just a beast. Swastika Face is just, well, he's delightful. He's delightful.
This movie contains a character arc where you end up sympathizing and
With
going
the guy
along
with a big swastika on his face. It's crazy. It's insane. But they got to go. They got to go.
That's fair.
They got to go. I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to be married to What We Do in the Shadows.
Smart move.
Because it's comfort. It's comfort. And plus, like, I'm going to be married with them forever. And if anything, that's a bigger world out there. So if I'm not including the show, but I am including, like, the universe that it is. So there's werewolf, or there's vampire orgies.
Are you going to hold an orgy? You know, getting freaky. Or
It's got to be a good orgy because it doesn't want to. You don't want to be like, oh, Roberto.
No, it's fucking Mike.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be married because it's stable. It's fun. You know, we all do things together. Go out and have a. If you haven't watched What We Do in the Shadows,
God.
watch What We Do in the Shadows. The show. If you
sorry.
like the movie, you like the show. It's great.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. But
So
fucking Mike.
the energy vampire. Okay, so I'm gonna get married to them. Okay, I'm gonna get married to what?
By process of elimination,
I'm gonna get freaky as shit with What We Caught Out of Space. Because think about it, dude.
I don't wanna
Planet
think about
Squiddly
it.
Diddly, did they like just all the like,
No.
don't dream it. It'd be like Planet Dr. Preterius. Just like everything, just like all emagulated and like tentacles and stuff everywhere. And like, I don't know.
Are the alpacas coming into play?
Maybe. What happens on Planet Squiddly Diddly stays on planet. Just like mantises flying around.
And
I'm a doctor.
You are lactose intolerant, so you are not going to be partaking of the alpaca milk, are you?
No, but you know, whatever. It's going to be a brief but fun 10 seconds, I guess, before
Lord have mercy.
I just enveloped in the cosmic sex nanny.
Yeah.
The planet-wide shunting.
Sorry, Adrian. Probably not sorry. That's why I was initially going to get freaky with color, but I knew I was treading into your territory, my friend. And ultimately, I knew I'd have to put on kids' gloves with that. I didn't want to do that. So my apologies, ladies and gentlemen, on this bit, but tradition is tradition. So again, thank you all for being part of our Squiddly Diddly Screenland film family. Hope you had some fun with this. We are going to come back for another Shudder Shutout double feature. So until that time, this is Greg D.
I'm Genius McGee.
And we will see you in your dreams.
Pom!